The convergent element of the creative problem-solving cycle is consistently identified as one of the trickiest, taking an intermediate impossible, converting useless into useful whilst retaining all the novelty. And what we've identified recently is that the work we've been doing with primary schools, with young children, provides a vast stock of material through which one can practice that convergent process. For example, we recently went into Histon and Impington Junior School, just outside Cambridge, and took a business issue into them, which was how to improve staff induction. Now, clearly there's no way 6, 7, 8-year-olds are going to be able to get an appreciation of what staff induction is about, so we had to reframe the problem in something that was a little more acceptable for the children. So we tweaked that to become how to improve how it feels to move into a new school, which clearly captures all the induction elements, but obviously relates it to the children quite nicely. We then split the class up into groups of 3, and they went off and they did their work, they wove their magic, and a whole range of fascinating concepts came out, and one little cluster, one little group, came up with a consistent approach, which was all to do with thrill and excitement. So, for example, what they said was that they'd have people arrive on the first day with through a zip wire. So they'd zip into school. That'd be exciting. We'd develop a forest in the background, so we'd make sure that there was kind of a Hogwarts feel to this, I think, that the school was discovered in the middle of a forest. And one of the other ideas they generated was that there should be a bungee jump, that effectively on day 1 you're invited to go up and take a bungee jump. As an adult, I'm not entirely sure how thrilling that would be, but nevertheless, children thought it'd be a great idea to improve the induction. Now, when you look at it, when you look at the various elements of that, there's a consistent set of characteristics which are all to do with adrenaline and excitement. So the first element is to take that intermediate impossible, distill out those core elements, adrenaline and excitement. Forget the rest of the ideas then. The concept that sits behind those key words is then kind of allowed to sink into the background. Now what you do is you look at ways in which you can capture those elements, adrenaline and excitement, but build them into useful ideas without losing the novelty. And we came up with a whole range of ideas. What we imagined that you could have an induction flight over Cambridge, for example, that given that this was a business on the science part that identified this issue, that maybe what they could offer was kind of within their first week, you could have a flight over the whole of the Cambridge area, looking at the major landmarks. Impractical? Well, not entirely. There's a cost element, but maybe you could look at sharing this cost across the science part. Maybe there's a number of firms that could buy into this idea. Maybe if you hired a light aircraft on a regular basis, so maybe it was in the first Monday of every month that there were going to be a series of these flights, that you could get the price to come down. Price per head is what you want to worry about, of course. Of course, the inductees will be made to feel tremendously special as a consequence of this, and it would massively differentiate the businesses. Word would pass around just how exciting is this place to work, on the back of the fact that part of the induction process is a flight across the Cambridge area to look at the major landmarks to see how it all fits together. A neat idea and a neat example of the convergent process, how you distill out the novelty and then rebuild the solution as being a useful idea whilst retaining all those elements of novelty within that solution.